It was supposed to be just another recording. Studio was warm with laughter, the lights overhead creating a dreamlike glow as Dara walked onto the set of the variety show Heart to Heart, where she was the special guest. She was dressed simply but elegantly, her iconic youthful glow still very much present even after more than a decade in the industry. The crowd cheered, the host beamed, and everything was going according to script. Until it wasn't. As Jung Il-woo emerged from backstage, Dara's eyes widened in surprise. She hadn't seen him in months, and even then it was in passing at a charity gala. He was a friend, yes. More like an industry ally, someone who'd walked the same long road under the harsh lights of fame. No one expected him to show up, not the staff, not the host, and certainly not Dara. Il-woo walked slowly but confidently to the stage, carrying something in his hands. It was a letter, handwritten, folded carefully and bound with a slim red ribbon. Cameras caught Dara's puzzled expression, and then the silence that followed as he asked to say a few words. What happened next would become one of the most talked about moments in Korean entertainment in recent memory. The letter was not just a letter. It was a story, a confession, and a gesture wrapped into one. Il-woo began to read, his voice trembling slightly, though it never cracked. He spoke of their early days in the industry. Seeing Dara on stage when he was just another aspiring actor. He admired her from afar, not because of her fame, but because of her resilience. "You were the brightest light in a time when I only saw shadows," he said, glancing at her. Dara's smile faded into a stillness that only comes with the surfacing of long-forgotten emotions. He continued, recalling a specific night 10 years ago. They were both attending a KBS year-end party. It was snowing, he remembered. Dara had been outside, alone, speaking softly on the phone in the cold, her breath forming clouds in the frigid air. "You looked so lonely," he said, "and I wanted to say something then, but I didn't. I wasn't brave enough." As he read, Dara sat frozen, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The audience was silent. No one dared interrupt the moment. Il-woo described how over the years he watched her from afar. When One disbanded, when she began hosting shows instead of performing, when she quietly supported others while hiding her own heartaches. He admired her strength, but also her fragility, something the public rarely saw. Then came the line that changed everything, "No man ever dared to tell you this, but I will. You deserved better, Dara. You deserved someone who saw not just the star woman. And I see you." There was a beat of silence before Dara's eyes welled up. She tried to smile, tried to brush it off with her usual playfulness. But it was too late. The tears spilled over. Her shoulders trembled as she brought a hand to her face, trying to hide the wave of emotion crashing through her. The studio didn't move. The audience was crying too. Even the host, known for his comedic timing, stood quiet and respectful. Jung Il-woo stepped closer but kept a respectful distance. "Don't expect anything from this," he said, folding the letter. "I just wanted you to know, what made the moment so raw, so resonant, wasn't just what Il-woo said, it was what it meant. An industry built on image, where vulnerability is often masked and real emotions are buried beneath rehearsed reactions. This was a rupture in the facade." Dara wasn't just crying. She was feeling, openly, in front of millions. Later, fans would dissect every second of the footage. Was it a confession of love? A tribute? A long-delayed catharsis? Social media exploded with speculation. Hashtags like #Il-woo letter and #Dara tears trended globally. But for those in the room, it wasn't about romance. It was about courage, about a man daring to speak his truth, and a woman realizing she'd been seen in a way no one else had offered before. After the recording, Dara remained backstage for over an hour. Close friends said she was quiet, contemplative. It wasn't about Il-woo himself. A confidant revealed anonymously. It was that someone finally acknowledged her struggles without expecting anything in return. That broke her. The story quickly grew beyond entertainment gossip. Op-eds appeared in major publications, praising the authenticity of the exchange. Mental health advocates spoke about the power of validation and how rare such moments are for celebrities. One columnist wrote, "For once, a woman wasn't praised for being strong. Was allowed to be human." As the days passed, fans began sharing their own stories, of quiet heartbreaks, of waiting for someone to acknowledge their worth. Jung Il-woo became an accidental symbol of emotional bravery. Part Dara, long admired for her calm grace, now embraced for her emotional vulnerability. But this wasn't the end of their story, it was only the beginning of something deeper, more profound than anyone had imagined. Bond formed not in the shallow lights of celebrity, but in the shared silence of truth finally spoken aloud. Aftermath of the viral moment was both overwhelming and strangely quiet. Dara didn't post on social media for 3 days. For someone who had always shared little slices of her daily life, a picture with her cats, a selfie with old friends, the silence felt monumental. Fans speculated, worried, theorized. Was she hurt? Embarrassed? Deeply moved? When she finally did return to Instagram, it was with a photo of the sea at dusk. The caption read, "Thank you for seeing me." Was unsigned, but everyone knew. Comments flooded in, most supportive, some tearful. There was something universally moving about being seen without having to explain oneself. Jung Il-woo, meanwhile, went about his usual schedule. Team decline interview requests. He refused to comment further on the letter. A close friend of his reportedly said, "He meant every word." That's all that matters. The weeks that followed, the incident became a case study in how human vulnerability can still cut through cynicism. Variety shows debated whether television was ready for such moments. "We never intended for this to happen," said the show's producer in an interview. "But we're glad it did." Dara, for her part, began to open up in subtle ways. She spoke more candidly in interviews, not just about her career, but about loneliness, about the struggles of maintaining an image, about aging in an industry that worships youth. He didn't mention Il-woo by name, but she didn't have to. His presence lingered in her words. Fans noted how Dara seemed lighter, more at ease. She laughed more freely, allowed herself to speak slowly instead of filling every silence with smiles. Speculated that Il-woo's letter had given her a form of permission to be more than what the world expected her to be. Their relationship, whether romantic or platonic, became a symbol of emotional honesty, not just for celebrities, but for everyone who ever needed to hear. Deserved better. Months later, the two appeared together again, this time at a charity event supporting mental health awareness. They didn't walk in together, nor did they sit side by side. When Dara gave her speech, she looked out into the audience and paused, locking eyes with someone before smiling. "It took me a long time to understand that strength isn't about hiding how you feel," she said. "Sometimes, it takes more courage to be honest." There was no mention of the letter, a dramatic reenactment. But the crowd understood. And in the back of the room, Jung Il-woo stood, clapping. The entertainment world moved on, as it always does. New scandals, new dramas, new headlines. But for many, that moment on Heart to Heart remained etched in memory. It wasn't about gossip. It wasn't about fame. It was about two people, connected by timing, by empathy, and by an unspoken understanding. And for Park Dara, who had spent much of her career being everything for everyone, it was the first time someone had simply told her, "You're enough." That, more than anything, brought the